Fusion Mobile, quality e-learning experience on the go.
You are welcome back again. We are going to look at the world industry. World industry. I believe we know what industry is. Industry can be defined as the process of turning raw material to a finished or semi-finished goods. So when we say that, in other words, we are talking about the process of turning raw materials into finished or semi-finished goods. That is what we mean by what? By industries. Now, let's look at types or classification of industry. Industry can be classified according to the size. Industry can be classified according to what they produce. But generally, we are going to look at three types of industry. Now, we are going to look at number one, light industry. Light industry. Number two, we talk about number three, we talk about heavy industry. Now, if you look at this classification or types, they are classified based on what they produce. So when you talk about light industry, these are industries that specialize in the production of lightweight goods. Lightweight goods like what? Like paper, like pen, like stationaries. All these are lightweight goods. So any industry that specializes in producing lightweight materials, we call them light industry. Consumer goods industry. These are industry that specialize in what? In producing consumables, consumable items. So like Indomie and all these noodles and maybe beverages, all this industry, we call them the consumer goods industry. But we have heavy industry. The heavy industry are those industries that produce heavy weight goods. Aside this, we have what we call primary industry. Primary industry. Number two, we have secondary industry. Number three, we have tertiary what? Tertiary industry. Now, what do we understand by primary industry? Primary industry is the type of industry that produce raw materials. The type of industry that produce what? Raw materials. Then we have secondary industry. These are the type of industry that change these raw materials into finished or semi-finished goods. Then we have tertiary industry. This tertiary industry is a kind of adding more values to what secondary industry produce. For instance, when we talk about tertiary industry can be in form of educational sector. They are tertiary industry. They are not directly involved in production, but most of the time they refine or add value to what being produced in secondary or at times in primary. Now, what are the problems facing industrial development, especially in Africa? What are the problems? Number one, we have some of our industries are dominated by foreigners. Some of the industries in Nigeria especially, or Africa as a whole, are dominated by what? Foreign experts. So it makes the space, not conducive for the indigenous industry to thrive in Nigeria. Number two, there is what we call import substitution. Maybe the product that the local industry is producing, if you have the same or of a high quality imported from another country with a lower price, it can kill the local industry. Number 3, we have many of the industries that we have in Nigeria, the machines were not manufactured here. They have to be imported. So before you go into setting up an industry, you must have money, you must have enough capital to go into it. Then finally, some of these industries are concentrated in town and not villages. And most of the raw materials that are being used, most of them are produced in the village. Why do we concentrate these industries in the village, in town, and not in the village? So these are the factors that or problems of industries in Nigeria. Now, let's look at some of the problems. Another one is insufficient or inadequate capital. We talk about shortage of raw materials and inadequate manpower and poor quality. All these are the problems militating against industrial development, either in Africa or in Nigeria. They are the same. The problems are the same anywhere except in developed country where their industry has developed to an extent that they can stand on their own. So this has brought us to the end of world industry. By the time we get to SS2 work, we are still going to come back to some of this topic again and go into more detail.